Welcome everyone to the GTACC webinar on remote learning and onboarding. It's been a crazy time, but we've been adapting, and today we have a really cool panel, very diverse, but actual practitioners. So you will hear from people just like yourself that have gone through those challenges and have had some successes as well. So I'd like to introduce, actually, before I get started, we are recording this session so that, anyone can review the lessons learned afterwards. And if you're going to send in the chat, you just have to change it to all panelists and attendees, that way everybody can chime in. So today I'd like to introduce, I have Jessica Lehman, and she is Manager Learning and Development from MCAP, our friends at MCAP. So welcome, Jessica. And I have Catherine Kelly, Manager Learning Development from CI Investments. Hey, Catherine.
Hello.
I have Nicole Prasad here, Senior Manager from our friends at Contact Point 360. Wonderful, welcome. And then we have Shaniela Young. I was just telling her name is so beautiful. Shaniela Young, Senior Manager Learning Development from Scotiabank. And
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, hello, welcome. And I'd like to also introduce Micah Peterson, and he's VP Product Management at our sponsors, Procedure Flow. So I'd really like to thank all our speakers and our sponsor, Procedure Flow, for bringing this all together. And I just want to do a quick shout out in advance to Amanda Werner for, she's our behind the scenes. And if you need anything, she's there. She's the one organizing a lot of it. So I just want to do it in advance shout out. She'll be taking some notes, and we'll be able to compile the best practices. So in respect for time, we're going to just hit it out of the park right away. We do have this amazing panel here, and I'd love for someone to start. A little more than a year ago, we did that pivot, and guess what? We had to start training virtually. So can someone just start off with, in terms of the challenges, whether it be engagement, technology, learner retention? Does somebody want to start off and share one of your challenges?
Sure, I can go first. It's Catherine here.
Cool.
I think out of the gate, I'll start with out of the gate to a year ago, or I guess a little more than a year ago, but technology. And I'm sure that was for everybody that automatically got sent home in a hurry. So that would probably be one of our biggest. It's better now, and I can share that. But I think that if you went home last March and you were lucky, like L&D, we have corporate laptops, it was really just internet issues, right? Drop here, drop there, here and there. But we had a lot of users that had to use their personal laptops.
Right.
Desktops, Macs were a huge problem for us. And so the issue there was that these individuals are using their personal equipment. Some of it was new, some of it was old, and they had to remote to their desktops in the office. So that was an extra added element of that remoting into your desktop. Plus you had internet issues on top of that. So we had people with no webcams, people with no audio, people getting dropped all the time, which of course just adds frustration and stress to anybody who's trying to deliver when people are randomly disappearing. So a couple of things that we did at the beginning to help with that is sometimes we would use two trainers, two facilitators, right, to handle some of the back stuff that was going on. Even our coordinator would jump in to try and facilitate how to manage those individuals that were dropping off. And other great things we did is all of our sessions got recorded, right? So if somebody missed a piece, they could go back and rewatch that piece if they needed to. We offered lunchtime support, evening support. So certainly at the beginning, it was really round the clock type of stuff. So a lot of exhaustion and things have changed since then, and that frustration is decreasing, but I would have to say that would be the biggest one.
Okay. Yeah, that's a real common challenge that we hear, and it impacts everything else. How about Jessica or Nicole? Yeah,
I was actually going to piggyback on what Catherine just said about the internet issues. What we did here at Contact Point 360 is we made it mandatory to be hardwired. So we, we would share anytime we were going through the interview process, we would share with them the credentials that they needed, the bandwidth, the upload, the download speeds that they required. And then we would follow that up with our IT teams, following up with them to make sure all the systems were added. So making sure that it's hardwired made a huge difference.
So
It does.
Okay, cool. I had a question there. So when you had to pivot the people that were already in your centers, how did you get that to happen so quickly?
Well, what we did is our IT team, they're awesome. They had the wires that they needed, and we were able to have them either come into the office or we shipped it to them. Any new hires right now, they can order them. They're very inexpensive on Amazon, I think like $12,
Right.
depending on where they are in the office, but our IT team took care of all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to jump in on some of the challenges that you had?
Yeah, I can jump in on that too. I think piggybacking on both Catherine and Nicole, what you've both said, we certainly had our own issues with technology, probably very similar to what you ran into. Another technology challenge that we had was at the very beginning of the pandemic, we had multiple groups of new hires coming in. So we had to jump straight into training. Like we had no time to turn everything around from our in-person training format to now a virtual format. Right. And so initially we were using Zoom. And then I know there was a whole bunch of stuff that came out about Zoom that has since been resolved, but we kind of overnight, one day to the next, it was like, you can't use Zoom anymore. So we had to then switch from Zoom to then WebEx. And then eventually Microsoft Teams released some new features, which we love. So we've now switched over to Teams. So technology was certainly a challenge in the same ways as Catherine and Nicole, but also having to switch platforms multiple times, kind of mid-training sometimes, like from a Tuesday to a Wednesday, we were switching platforms entirely. So for sure there was a learning curve for our facilitators and then also for our participants in training, having to now learn a new platform kind of the morning of sometimes.
Yeah, and Shaniela, I had a question for you. How did you see your facilitators pivot to keep the folks engaged? Because I know that's Scotiabank has a big training operation going on. So
yeah, the key piece for us was getting our facilitators to start looking at engagement activities, and a lot of them designed some on their own and shared and be able to like, here's some best practices that are working for me in the classroom, and really kind of, making that best practice sharing an opportunity for others to kind of learn. And same as Jessica shared, we had to pivot through different platforms. So being able to learn how to use the tools and the breakout rooms and the different options and features that the tools have to create that engagement as well was a big thing for us. And we're continuing to learn and evolve and look at different technologies that we can explore to make that engagement really a part, because our onboarding sessions are about 3 weeks in length. It's a lot of time to be virtual.
yeah.
Same as ours.
And so Micah, you're our tech guru here, right? So what are some of the challenges that you've seen, with a lot of your clients and in industry around?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just before I answer that, Zangi, I want to go back and just ask the team here. You mentioned some of the tools you're using and that you liked the features that they ended up coming out with. I'm curious, just if you could tell me what those features were that you appreciated about those tools, and then I'll circle back and answer your question.
Cool.
Yeah, I can speak to Microsoft Teams for sure. That's something that has now, it was kind of just introduced, I think, when the pandemic first hit, or around that time, maybe shortly before, but we weren't really using it all that much. And then once the pandemic hit, we had absolutely no choice but to just, now we lean on Teams for everything. So we do video chats. You can do audio calls, but video chats are done via Teams. So now we do our facilitation, our training sessions. We have everyone on video, and you can they have a feature where you can have like a big gallery view where you're able to actually see everyone. So that was a challenge for us initially, is that we could only see.
Is that the one, is that where you're all like sitting in a movie theater and you're all like,
yeah, like in an auditorium. Yeah, you can do it that way. But initially, I think it was with WebEx, we could only see 5 participants at a time. So when we had groups of 20, you can't really see how everybody's engaging. So now With Teams, the facilitator can actually see everyone, which is really nice. There's also, so there's a raise hand feature, there's a chat feature. We also now have, there's different reactions that the participants can give. So you can do like applause or give a heart or a thumbs up, thumbs down, that kind of thing. So that's really nice for engagement. And we also now have breakout rooms, which are godsend. They are amazing. I don't know what we did without them before. I think that's the big stuff that we use in Teams, but that I know from an engagement perspective, just to build on what Shaniela said too, that we had to switch up a lot of our methods in training too, right? So, okay, where can we have individual work done and group work done, and how can we leverage the reactions and raise hand feature, and okay, everyone put your answer in the chat. So we really had to switch up our methods because we transitioned from, like I said, a fully instructor-led program to now virtual.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And
Micah,
yeah,
if I
anybody
can
else?
add, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, no,
if
go
I
ahead,
can
Nicole.
add, so what we have is also, we had some concerns from some of our people working from home that they didn't want their home to be shown. So with Teams, they have a feature where you can change your background. So I am often on the beach because I'm visualizing myself on the beach. You can change your background to anything. You can download background. So that made people feel a lot more comfortable as well. And just like Zoom, you can record the session. So if we had individuals that had to step out, exactly like that, Micah. If we had individuals that had to step out for an appointment or for whatever reason, we could always share the video with them after that we recorded. So whatever information they missed, they were able to catch up on, which we didn't have when we were in class.
Yeah, that's awesome. But it's interesting to hear you guys say like it's like you were able to add engagement where that wasn't there in the classroom, which is kind of it's opposite to what you might think. You think you're losing a lot, but you might be actually gaining.
No, and I can piggyback off that MS Teams because we use it, we drink the Kool-Aid, we love it. I could be a spokesperson for MS Teams. But talking about those backgrounds, Nicole, some of our facilitators, trainers, they have Zoom background competitions every morning. It's to pick a background, and then the group has to try and guess what movie or what it is. So trying to create more engagement and excitement in the class when we can't do it in person. So that's something that they do with the backgrounds.
That's cool.
I often say now Zoom backgrounds are kind of like the new t-shirt, you know what I mean? It's like how you express yourself. So Zangidi, I'll answer your question. I think as we've hosted different roundtables and talked to our customers and sort of keeping a close eye on everything that's happening, there was two themes that emerged for me. One was people really want to try to shorten their training, and then they're trying to figure out how to make it more engaging, which is kind of all the things that we're talking about, and hopefully a lot more there. But those are the big themes that we're seeing out there, and we care about the innovation and the technology side maybe a little bit more than the sort of the instructor-led side. We're not necessarily experts there, so we did a couple webinars early where we were talking to Jeff Toyster and Sherry Kendall and Bill Ledger and some other folks that were practitioners in that space, and we recorded them and captured them, and they have just amazing tips and resources. And Amanda's going to put a few in the chat later of ones that we've collected, like training resources for engagement and all that stuff. Not everybody's a fan of gamification, but like there is an element. I wanted to ask you guys that, like, have you done stuff with that? Did it work? Did it not work? And then because we have just all these lists of links to GTACC.com, who's like a gamification guru, and like just all that kind of stuff. So maybe I'll list out 3 technologies that I think are interesting in shortening and engaging procedure flow on the scenario and exception runs, like creating mock calls essentially that you can then actually use on the floor as well. Simulators like a SEMA, and there's other companies that do it, but essentially how can you take a live system and recreate it so they can touch it and feel it, click the buttons? And then like gamification of LMS systems where you can take soft skills, things that you want them to memorize, and then put that into something that's bite-sized micro learning. And all of that's not instructor-led. It's all stuff they can do pre and post. And then when you get together, the times you do get together can be more meaningful. And so those are some of the things that we've seen.
Okay, cool. I had a question that has come up often. Have you guys, like all the trainers, I know you had to pivot in your delivery, but have your desired outcomes, have they changed from, just being live in the classroom? Have some of your desired outcomes changed? Anyone?
I don't know if the outcomes have changed, because we still want the FSR, our financial service representatives, to be trained in the end. What we want to expect at the end of their onboarding training, ours is about 3 weeks to somewhere between 3 and 5 weeks to do their training. So the outcome is still the same. It is truly, I guess, it is more in how we're delivering it. So I know this is not fully to your question, but mock calls, we've started using way more mock calls in our training. And now we train through mock calls. We don't necessarily train through content. We're training through mock calls, and they learn by navigating and doing it themselves. So really, I guess the outcome is at the end of training, they're going to be even better ready for the phones than they were before. So that is, I guess, the outcome is still the same. We want them to be good and be ready to take that first phone call. But how we're delivering the training is going to get them faster and better to that outcome.
Yeah, because now they're on their own pretty much, like once they're, no one's sitting right beside them.
We actually have a best practices. So when they first go onto the call, we go through somewhere around 3 week, depending on the group. They go through best practices where there is a team of quality specialists that do side-by-sides and control that atmosphere before then the actual end of training and the end of BP, as we call it. That's when they get moved over to their supervisor. So prior to that, they do have a bit of a safety net still carrying them through those first few phone calls.
And Catherine, is that what is the technology on that? Like, they're obviously in 2 different places. And so what does side-by-side mean? And then are they actually doing the work, or are they hijacked and just watching somebody else do it? Or how's that work?
So the new hires pair up together, and they're sort of virtually hijacked into each other. So we use our MS Teams. We create channels, and people join channels together and listen to each other's calls, as well as our telephony platform through Amazon Connect.
Okay.
So now I'd really love to explore, and then I think this would be the bulk of our session, is where you pivoted and what's working. Like, what changes have you made to have that more engaged learner now that we're fully, everyone's remote? Yeah, Nicole, sure.
So what we incorporated surveys for our new trainees. So we have surveys and we have assessments. The surveys are generally actually for me, for feedback. So because they're at home, I can't go in and visit the classes. They're with their trainer virtually. And some things they may, because you're not in a group setting, they sometimes feel a little shy to ask questions or to speak up when they need something, or they don't speak up at all. So what we do is I have surveys that we share with them, the trainers share, and the results come back to me. That way, if there's any issues, I'm able to address them right away. So we don't wait till the end. We do it after week 1. We do it after week 3, 4, depending on the group that we're training. But we use these surveys to get feedback, to make sure they feel engaged and make sure they feel heard. And I feel like that's been a really good addition to our training programs, where we did them before when we were in person. Now we do them just more often that it's virtually, and they find a lot of value in that.
Oh, great, the surveys. So what are people doing, if anyone wants to share, to get that dialogue going during the session? So we're training, so it's not like the trainer is doing a one-way monologue. What are you doing to go back and forth and have them participate?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. So when we initially converted all of our in-person training over to a virtual format, we kind of just did, I guess, a bit of like an audit of our technologies and what functions each technology could do for us, and looked at what are we currently using and what opportunities are there for us to leverage that we're not currently using. So with all of those options, we then, like, for example, with Teams, we now have the option of breakout rooms and reactions and raising your hand. So we kind of went line by line, or, day by day with our training. And we would look at, okay, how is this currently facilitated? We have somebody standing up at the front of the room. Is this something that we can use one of those engagement techniques or tools to have learners kind of figure out on their own? Or, if we have this activity that's usually an individual assignment that we give our trainees, can we put them into breakout rooms and have them work together? A big thing at MCAP is our culture, and I'm proud to say that we've actually maintained, I think, our culture through the pandemic and not being in person. And I think a huge part of that is just doing group work. So if you have the opportunity to have people working together and getting to know each other, we just try and jump on every opportunity we have to do that.
It's wonderful. That's great. Shaniela, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to share something that we did a little bit differently to help that sustainment and that learning transfer. Is we had our designers create a portal where that our new hires can go in and get some hands-on practice with simulation, how-to videos, the show me, let me, test me type approach as well. And now those tools are something they can use, multi-capacity. It can be used in the classroom, and then again, when they hit the operation, they can access those tools as well to sustain their learning.
That's wonderful. And Scotiabank has centers all over. So did you bring different groups together in training, or it was like this group in Toronto, this group in the East Coast?
That's a good question. Actually, we started to then think around our teams and how to be able to create that network view where we can utilize our resources across the network, which we didn't do in the past. So we would have trainers from, let's say Colombia or Mexico facilitating to our teams in Canada, or vice versa. So that helped us to create more capacity. I mean, of course, there's still a lot of work to do and things like that, but it creates more capacity for the team to be able to support across the network. So that's definitely helped us.
Wonderful.
And now that's our new normal for us as well.
And what are some other things? So thank you, Jessica, for sharing what MCAP does for engagement. Any other things? Because I see that come up most often, is that keeping them engaged for the session. And actually, how long are your training sessions per time? Micah said he's seeing shorter and shorter. I'm seeing that too. My sessions have become really short, much shorter. What are you guys doing? What's your average length?
I would have to say the kudos. Our average length for an onboarding, approximately for the training in class portion, I guess, is about 3 weeks. But I have to give credit to my trainers. They are incredibly funny and entertaining. I have some trainers who dress up to start some of their morning calls, and so they're quite entertaining. They have the different. They still have trivia. They have background games. They do have a natural tendency to be able to keep them entertained. So kudos to my group for doing that. I don't know how I could do that.
How long are your sessions?
They're full days.
Okay,
full days. But what they've also done is now there's more breaks.
Right.
And we've also added what we've done over the past year, which we were already going down this route. Some of that lecture stuff is now e-learnings. They just was self-led e-learnings.
Yeah.
When they come together as a group, it's mock calls, activities, scenarios, all. They have no choice but to participate in those, because they're going to have to do a mock call. We get them to share their screens. You show everyone on the team how to navigate. I'm not going to show you. You have to show them.
Good.
So we are changing things up a bit.
Each pocket of time that is training's going on, or interaction, is how long before there's a stretch break? Or are you encouraged to stretch throughout?
They stretch throughout the day. So if you're talking in a day, some of them will say, we take a break every hour. It might just be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes. Some will say, well, no, we kind of still do that morning break, your lunch break, your afternoon might get 2 breaks, because that's when you're the most tired. I'm not sure if that's sort of what you were asking, but each one does something a little bit different. They can read the room, right? You read those faces, and thank God cameras are on, and I can see that there's fatigue, and so they call breaks when they need to. So definitely more breaks.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Is other people seeing that you're giving more frequent breaks to stretch and drink water or whatever?
Yeah, we have breaks, but they're also able to get up and leave. You can stand up because you're at home now. So,
Yeah.
and we're on video. So they stand up, they stretch, they can walk away for a bio break. All they do is they put a note in Teams. So the trainer knows that if I call on Sangeeta and you're not answering, well, I know you probably just stepped away because you made a note there.
Yes,
So,
I love that.
Yeah, so there's a lot, I think it's a little bit freer when you're at home. You know, you are able to get up and walk around in your home and still hear what the trainer is teaching. So it's made it a lot more, it is more engaging, to be quite honest. Our trainers incorporated YouTube videos for when they were in the office. One of the senior VPs, he had an actual air conditioned unit there to show people if they didn't have one. So what one of our trainers does is he now pulls out videos, YouTube videos and diagrams to show this is what it looks like, depending on what they're teaching, to just make it a little bit more engaging as opposed to lecture all day long.
Good.
And just like Catherine says, you know, we role play, we do the mock calls, the breakout rooms, all of those. So there's a lot of engagement happening now.
Okay,
I can tell
great.
you a challenge. I can tell you a challenge we have about this technology and working from home in this pandemic is it's the multitasking. That's one of the toughest things to get through is people who, again, this is again, a trainer has said, I think they're playing video games while they're in class.
Yeah.
You hear babies crying and so that is an element that has been a struggle for us is cameras on and to stop the multitasking.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear from a facilitator from Scotiabank. Eric?
Yeah,
Love to have
absolutely.
you on board.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to keeping them engaged, it's absolutely difficult. And I love a lot of the things that I'm hearing already. But I know one of the things that I'll do, because you don't want them playing video games, you don't want them surfing the net. I do like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of review in the morning, but it's a specific rotation. So I'm not calling anybody out of turn. They have a specific rotation. They know when their turn's coming up. So they know when, oh, okay, I need to get ready. My question's coming up. And then they get the opportunity to phone a friend if they want help, or, ask the audience for some help, maybe get a 50-50. I have a battleship game that I play with them whenever, you're starting to know, okay, there's too much information. Now we're learning too much at this time. The polls on MS Team, honestly, is another great way to, just kind of check in with them, get their opinion. Where are we at? How do we want to continue this? It definitely helps a lot for sure.
Wonderful. And then, so your training pockets before you say, let's do something, let's stretch, let's move, whatever, is how long?
Oh, so we're talking like 3 to 5 minutes. You want to switch things up a little bit, right? Like, and even there, 5 minutes is starting to get a long time. If you've been talking for even 3 minutes, chances are you've lost a couple of them for sure. So even if you're just asking them to throw an emoji in really quick in the chat, it might be a really, really small thing that you're doing, but you've just brought their attention back. So it's that little thing, switches it up, and then you can keep training. Get somebody to answer a question. They're talking about mock calls or show me what to do. Sometimes it could just be a little something that you get them to show you.
Wonderful.
Eric, what platform are you using to do the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game?
So it depends. Right now we're usually using mostly MS Teams. We do use a little bit of iShare, but we're merging over to MS Teams for the most part. But again, this is where like I would write my list out of the rotation, and usually I go alphabetical order so that they'll always know. And let's say Abdul knows that he's gonna pass before Zara. It's always gonna be, they always know who's next.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious because there's like Kahoot, and I know like triviamaker.com, and there's some other sort of platforms. Have any of you guys tried that stuff, and was it like, did it work or not, or like what are you guys feeling there?
Yeah, Kahoot. Who is it? I use
My team loves quizzes and Kahoot.
Yeah. Good. Daniel?
Yeah, we've also used a platform called CrowdPer, also very similar to Kahoot. We've used this during a brick and mortar type training environment as well, but we find it even more engaging now, especially if you have to do certain knowledge checks, especially as they kind of get to that graduation phase. It's a great way to keep them engaged because there's a lot of nerves during that last week, and kind of doing kind of circumventing, kind of going back to some of the key knowledge criteria that they have to pick up. Kahoot has been a great way to keep people engaged. And sometimes we do like a $2, Timmy's gift card for coffee, just so that people have skin in the game and really want to participate in that. And we've seen that really kind of get a lot more attention and focus, especially during the remote training environments that we've seen as of late.
We have a cheesy Jeopardy template as well. I think everybody at some point in their training history will have the standard cheesy Jeopardy template. Everyone loves that competition.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's funny you mentioned that because we actually use the "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire" type idea as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a different way to really keep it gamified, and just present the material in a different way, because everyone has that different learning style. And I think, when they're prepared to understand that, we're going to be gamifying it, every couple of days, they really take a lot more notes, we find, because again, even though it's just a coffee that they might get every morning, a little bit can go a really long way in terms of really making sure that engagement is there.
Yeah, excellent. Any other technologies that you use to keep them engaged? And Eric from Scotiabank, thank you for your insights. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Shaniela, I know you have a big team here. So if anyone else wants to chime in, by all means.
Keisha, did you have something that you wanted to share?
No, I was just going to say we're definitely experiencing some of the same challenges as everybody else. And even at Scotiabank, we have a bit of a semi-virtual. So I've heard a lot of description around that purely virtual environment. But for us, our new hires are still coming on site. But 20 new hires, which typically would be in one room with one facilitator, pre-COVID, are now 20 people means 4 rooms with potentially one facilitator. So some of the challenges that we've had to overcome is I can't be in 4 places at once. You're still learning virtually in that you have headphones on and you're looking at a screen, but my facilitator's over there. How does that work? So
okay.
yeah, there's been some healthy competition. Eric will have his rooms compete. So they all pick a name and they compete for points because which room is more engaged and which group is more engaged. So there's some accountability between the groups themselves, which is nice to see.
So that's interesting. So all your new hires come on site. Is there an option to come or not come? Or that's
Not yet. It
Soon,
depends on the
soon we'll be
site,
there.
but yeah, soon we'll be there. It depends on the site, but for now they all come in for their training period.
And I know there's surveys happening. What has been some of the feedback from our learners, our new hires, or just regular training? Some of the feedback as to what they would like more of, or what would be more helpful to them.
Yeah, we definitely do surveys. We do them, after the training period and then after they've had a chance to put that training into practice, because sometimes you think you learned everything you needed and then you take another survey when you've had to apply it and realize you didn't learn as much as you thought. We're hearing they love that gamification, to Micah's point, that, it seems hit or miss for most, but they like it. They like to be able to compete and hold each other accountable. There are some folks who are saying they like to be able to come on site and see other people, even if it is from a distance. But they're liking that we're making it engaging and we're doing our best. I think that they can see the effort there. And to Jessica's earlier point, we're really making an effort to keep the culture the same, using our platforms that exist at the bank today, our applause platform for recognition, and really hyping those pieces up so that you don't lose that connection.
So I have a question. How have the trainers and facilitators and learning development leaders had to adapt and change themselves to be even, because you have to take that energy that you had live and now share it. So how have you gone about doing that?
Well, Catherine mentioned the costumes, I think.
Yeah, the costumes.
I didn't do that, but a couple of my team members have, and they'll do sports days where everyone brings in their sports hats, right? Like people put on their sports hats. They'll have hat days.
So
again,
backgrounds, you said too.
Yeah, backgrounds. Lots of games, lots of riddles. I don't know, the trainers. I happen to have natural comedians. I'm very lucky that I have a group of some natural comedians.
Eric's the king. Eric's the king of like the brain teaser and the icebreaker in the morning.
So I can tell you that our trainers did at the beginning attend lots of webinars. Right back in March, April last year, there was lots of groups holding webinars on tips and tricks. So that is something that they did personally. They all watched a lot of how to facilitate virtually. They did that on their own during work time, obviously, but they did that. And then they shared it on MS Teams to the rest of the learning and development team.
And are you finding that what has been your most successful way to communicate. So are you, like, how are you?
MS Teams. It's
Yeah.
all MS
And
Teams.
yeah,
Yes.
I was gonna put a
Chat,
question, like
yeah.
put a spin on that question too, Senga, because it came up in the chat from a few people, was like, they really want to know, instead of hand raising or neighbor tapping, what are some of the solutions that have worked well for you guys, and it sounds like it's channels inside of MS Teams or that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love
That's
to,
what
I'd
we've
love to
done.
hear. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done
is
that
it-
at MCAP. We have a channel for, it's like a new hire support channel. And so we have more tenured agents who will be assigned to that support channel for however many days at a time when they're doing their on the job pieces. And any questions that they have that come up, they can put the question in the chat. And then there's the option either for the senior agent to just respond via chat, or they can call each other if it's something that's best talked out. I know that's definitely something that that was a challenge for us at the beginning too, is that floor walking or, hand raising when you're on the job, what do you do? But Teams has been, I feel like, a broken record. We love Teams, if I haven't made that clear.
I'm right
but-
there with you.
We're all here. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really-
Teams is
it's really
amazing for that.
Support.
And I see someone in the chat, Adele. Amanda, are you able to unmute her? And I'd love for her to share. She's got some really good content that she could share. So if we maybe get to her in a bit. Anybody else want to share some things that they're finding are really helping? Okay, there, Adele. Am I?
It's a he.
It's a he.
It's a he.
Sorry, my apologies.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
And
Yeah,
I
no.
apologize if I mispronounced.
Oh no, it is Adele. No,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly what Jessica was saying, that we use a similar sort of strategy where we use Google Meets instead of Teams, and we've created these dedicated chat rooms where the expectation is for like the tenured agents, the quality coaches. They're expected to be able to hop onto a call and possibly a video chat if it's something that they actually need to show the new agent. This is how you enter this request, or this is how you submit this form. So it's been helpful. However, our expectation has always been to give that real-time support, but just simply because of the number of new hires we've hired, usually there is sometimes like a 15 to 20 minute delays. That's something that we're trying to still resolve and figure out how we can fix that.
Okay. And now I have a question just for in general, for the new hire. Have you seen during the training time increased or decreased attrition as opposed to pre-COVID? Everybody together, kumbaya.
Do you mean like training attrition where they drop out before they even get to the calls?
Yeah.
I would say anecdotally, I don't really have any numbers to put to that. I would say anecdotally, in the training period, no real change in attrition. Okay. After the training period, maybe a slight increase, but nothing, I wouldn't say anything crazy. Our attrition, I think, has probably stayed about the same.
Okay.
Good. I think ours is as well. Nothing has it hasn't changed much.
Awesome.
And certainly not because of the pandemic or because of virtual world.
And so how you're recruiting, has that changed? Because now you're going to look for people who can learn a little bit more independently.
So
I can share a little bit there. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Sonia. Yeah, so what we do, actually, the good thing about COVID is because now we are working from home, we're able to hire people that are not just in the GTA. We can broaden our range because it is work from home. They're using their own technology, their own computers. We don't have to ship out computers. So we are widening our talent pool, and we're able to be a little bit choosier on who we hire because the talent pool is just that much bigger. And we don't have to kind of take who we get in this one specific area. You're getting a lot of talent all over. And it's giving other provinces opportunities as well to get a job where it's not as easy for them.
Right. Okay. Shaniela, you had something?
Yeah, I was going to share in regards to like our space, because we're not hiring remote right away. We find it's really tough. It's a lot of competition. But I also say the quality of the people that we're getting in different, pockets is a higher quality individual as well, because people are looking for change. And I'm seeing that come out in terms of the focus groups that I'm doing, and just the background of the individuals that are coming in is very different from what we had in the past. And we're in a pilot right now to be able to hire folks that are in Montreal to support our teams. And we'll look to do some in Halifax as well. So it's going to definitely open up some new opportunities for us when we get to do remote.
Okay, wonderful. And then if we think ahead, so finally COVID would go away, and I know some people are thinking of just staying remote. Some companies are going that route. Some will have a hybrid. In terms of your training and learning development, where's your head at? What are you thinking?
Yeah,
Mike, and also what you're hearing too.
You mean post pandemic? What's going to happen? Yeah. We did a survey, and the results came back, and it surprised me a little bit. The survey said that people actually plan to stay almost, I would say 70%. Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like 70% plan to sort of stick with the setup that they've gotten through the pandemic, and then maybe have some 30% for people that don't, like me, they have 7 kids at home. They don't have a good quiet area, or it's not safe or whatever. And so that was interesting, because I'm almost feeling like, companies would want to bring everybody back for security reasons, or, whatever, and almost force it back, but maybe the benefits, and it's just gone so well that it does stay. So that was what the survey came back with. I'd be curious to see what you guys, if you've thought about that yet, or if you're hearing any news.
Yeah, CI, we have decided for consolidating offices, and people are being the option of work from home, work in the office, or a hybrid.
Right.
So what that means to us in learning and development is that virtual is our future, because people could be at home, hybrid, they could be anywhere, and they could also be across one of our different offices. So we do have combined classes that have our Montreal folks and our Toronto folks. And soon, just like somebody else had said, we're going to be adding in maybe our Vancouver office we'll be able to hire from. So no matter what, it looks like virtual is going to be it going forward.
Yeah, I think MCAP is in the same boat as well, Catherine. We have one of the amazing things we've been able to do since the pandemic is combine our classes. So we have folks from Waterloo in the same class as folks from Vancouver.
Yep.
So the time zones for sure is a challenge that we have to work out before training starts. But that's one of the great things we've been able to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if that continues.
Yep.
We haven't really had any talks of closing any offices down. So the messaging so far that I've heard anyways is basically that people will kind of have the same kind of thing, same options. So, go back into the office, continue working from home, or some sort of hybrid.
Okay. And I want to just say thank you to Jennifer for that question. Thank you so much. And so there's another question. What, in terms of training, and it doesn't have to be for just new hire, overall training, what kind of things are you doing for team development, for that feeling of, I belong to this team? How are you bringing that into the training? I remember, who was it? Keisha said that Eric has competitions. But what about other folks? How do we create that sense of team?
I can definitely speak to that. Something that I like to do as a facilitator with my groups is like a question of the day where we get to know a little bit more about our participants, and even so much as if they can send in a photo of someone that's important to them, things like that. Because I think those are things that we used to share maybe in the lunchroom when we were close by on a phone, and that's missing now. So getting that opportunity kind of also breaks up the training day a little bit too, like let's flip from our normal topics to personal.
Okay, good. Any other team building ideas? It's great.
Yeah, some of the things I could chime in as well, Sangeeta. So our engagement and culture committee team has probably been busier than ever in the last year, because in a BAU situation, right, you have activities, social responsibility events, that charity events that we go to. A lot of that was kind of gone during the pandemic. So what we've done as well is started to work even with some of our clients and putting together a monthly newsletter. For example, last May, we did a Mother's Day kind of newsletter special. So we would actually go around to different teams just really understand all the mothers that were part of the team, celebrate them, and kind of do like a bio almost on them on the newsletter. And this helps also the team members get to know something personable around their fellow colleagues, because they don't have that water cooler that they can chat at during break anymore. So this kind of really creates that tight-knit family environment. And by doing a lot of engagement activities through that, where they have the ability to, really showcase themselves, their hobbies and interests, their families. Those are some of the things that we've done from a culture committee perspective to drive that. We also have a list of calendar events that we do kind of on a weekly basis. One of the ones that's gone over really well is MasterChef. And this is really essentially where someone will kind of do like a MasterChef session, and those that want to volunteer and participate, we'll give them like, here's your ingredients and recipe that you need to put together. And then we kind of have a lunch and learn session around that. And then people can kind of take photos of their own food and people can vote. And then they can qualify for like a gift card or something like that, just to really keep that engagement together in these remote times.
Cool. And I see in the chat, Eric said they have daily huddles where the agents rotate and to play facilitator, to have the facilitator role. And so that's helping with involvement, engagement. And then April says they have bi-weekly Zooms with different groups and a theme, wearing your different favorite sports gear, summer holidays, colors. So bringing in different aspects to create that sense of team. That's good. So if we had to, I'm just looking at time here, and you needed, as our experts here, so graciously giving of yourself and your time, you wanted to advise our attendees and people who will see the recording later on our YouTube, what is one or two key major takeaways that you'd say, no matter what, make sure you, and it could be around people, process, technology, doesn't matter. And I'd love to go around, and Micah, please chime in as well.
Sure.
So any of you can kick it off.
I would say continue to have that proactive mindset around what's coming to be able to shape the experience. And I think for us, that curiosity hat is always on within our team. What can we do differently? What can we do better? Like making sure that we are hearing and checking the temperature on a regular basis at all facets, right? So it's your facilitation team, your design team, your learners, your operations team, just making sure that it's all fitting together, because you may be out here thinking that this is working, but it might not be making the impact that you want it to make in the long term. So really thinking about that. And I really challenge our team to be curious and looking at, what's happening in the industry and being abreast to that, so that we can take those best practices away.
That's great. And while I have you, so is there, when you're doing this planning, have you had to bring in different things, thinking of all the different demographics that you'll be training?
Of course, meeting with our accessibility teams and really understanding, what are their needs and how is our current technology solution, let's say if it's Teams, is it meeting that need as well? And then looking at what are others doing in terms of technology that might be more effective, and being able to bring those vendors in and have the team sit and give their feedback. What do you think about that vendor demo? Is that something that you see working in our space? So that's definitely been helping us to kind of think a little bit broader in terms of what solutions we are bringing, and making sure that's something that will work for everyone that will be participating.
That's great. Yeah. How about anyone else?
I say, you know what, embrace the change. And afraid. I think it's the biggest thing. Don't be afraid. We were all scared at the beginning, and quite frankly, I think it's working out really, really well. Like everyone said, everyone's using trainers. Now we have a Montreal and Bogota team together. That's something that we wouldn't have been able to do before. So embrace the change. A lot of good is coming from it. And just really be mindful of the mental health of your agents, your trainers. Make sure that you're checking in with them, even the trainers, all of your employees, just make sure you're checking in with them and making sure that they're okay. There's a lot going on in people's lives, and taking that into consideration.
Love that,
beautiful.
Nicole. Love it. Yeah.
That's a whole other session.
It is, I know.
But not only be mindful of the mental health of the learners, but also really of the leaders, your trainers, because anyone who's done that virtual training, you're actually more tired than when you're in the classroom, because you're gotta give it, right? That energy. So and then the people like Scotiabank, they're one room, but they're doing live and virtual to the other rooms. So you have to like really turn it up. So checking in on the mental health of everyone. Yeah, thank you, Nicole, for bringing that up. Being mindful of that. Okay, Jessica or Catherine, you want to say anything?
No, just echoing the mental health. It's super exhausting. Delivering is way more tired than it ever was. You think you'd be at home in your track pants and your t-shirts and whatnot, you think you'd be, but it is so, to me, it's more physically exhausting. And so one of the things I'm mindful of how we schedule training and making sure there's truly a gap between where we might have had some back-to-back stuff going on that truly I have to say, no, we can't do that. This person needs to be out and not be on stage for the virtual day for several days in a row. So that, and then the other one is the technology one. I agree with Nicole, hardwire in. I can't tell you enough. I ordered from Amazon a 75-foot cord running down my hallway to my modem. Best decision I have ever made. I now have no interruptions, no freezing, no one's taking screenshots of me. So that would be the other one. Make sure your technology and you're hardwired in as you can.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. And I like that you said no one should be on stage all day. It's exhausting.
It is.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And then, yeah, just Shaniela, you had your hand up? Oh, I thought I saw something.
I just put a comment in the chat saying we added like 10 more resources for facilitation to support and bring a bit of a breather for our tenure folks.
Oh,
that's
great.
amazing.
So they're in development roles, but it's definitely supporting and helping.
Fantastic, yeah.
Awesome. Eric, did you
Amazing.
want to chime in? I saw your camera come on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I just really wanted to say the other thing too is we got to remember to have fun. A big piece about this is like, again, embracing the change, mental health. I mean, it's all super important things and we got to focus on it. At the end of the day, we can't take everything too seriously either.
Yes.
We need to have fun. We learn when we have fun. And I think by doing that and putting that at the forefront, it makes things a lot easier. And
here.
Okay.
I want to go in your class. I like fun. That's good.
All right, we'll play some Battleship.
Okay, very good. There's so many great points. Okay, awesome. And then Jessica, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaways, one would be to take stock of the technology that you currently have and what functions and features it has, and where you can leverage each of those. And then also figure out what you're not currently using and what opportunities there might be for you to use those extra features that you might not know of or currently leverage. And the second thing that I would say is in terms of converting to a virtual format or moving to a virtual format, not to get overwhelmed by, you might have a 3 or 5 or 7 week program that you're running. Don't get overwhelmed by having to transition that whole program over all at once. I would say go one item at a time. If you have this little lecture piece, an activity, feedback, an assessment or evaluation, just go item by item and look at how that particular piece can be converted over to a virtual format. So kind of one thing at a time, one item at a time, one day at a time. That's how we found our success. And
you know what, Jessica, that's actually golden advice, because how many trainers, facilitators are overwhelmed when you think, oh my God, I got to take it all virtual. So that's so good, because then it gives that peace of mind, just one item, and then that makes a calmer trainer, right? Daniel, you wanted, that's really golden. Thank you. And that actually supports the mental health of the trainers, facilitators. So great point.
100%.
Yeah, thank you. And Daniel, I see your camera on. You want to say something?
Yeah, I think from a facilitator perspective, and I don't want to speak for everyone around the panelist table, but I find in a work from home environment, it's really the other challenge we face is being able to just unplug, because laptops in the other room, we're constantly plugged in, and really having that handoff process, communicating and leveraging and communicating with the team for support makes that workload a lot more amenable and easier to manage. And to Nicole's point, and to Jessica as well, we need to really focus on the fun and really embrace that change. So what, Nicole and the team have really spent a lot of time being creative with what else we can do from an engagement perspective. So you're not just plugged into your desk for 7 hours, 8 hours a day, watching a reload of slides. So we've actually engaged with some industry experts as well to kind of come in as guest speakers. And it's become a lot easier in this remote environment where it's like, hey, rather than, coming to our office, getting this whole dog and pony show set up, we can do it virtually, right? And this really allows them to kind of hear from, the people that they're supporting on their day-to-day, what those impacts are, and really have an understanding of that in a very different way. So it's not just constantly one person that's speaking or presenting. And that engagement piece and creativity is really crucial for that to really change the monotony of it in a work from home scenario.
Awesome. And Keisha, I see your camera on. Did you want to chime in before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would just say make time. For us, we don't have it. We're training at the speed of light, it certainly feels like, in a large number of individuals. But we've realized that in order to make them successful, our facilitators, we need to make that time for them as well. So we have a monthly blackout day, or development day as we call it, the first Monday of every month. We've actually deferred our training to start on a Tuesday to allow us to have that day, plan development activities, have them all come to the table, disconnect, share best practices. And it's gone a long way in the development of our facilitators, and also, them being able to talk to each other and share those best practices. It's been great. So
and that's golden, because it takes so much out of you, that camaraderie and that time out from other meetings and other sessions, critical. So this has been, Micah, did I leave you out on this last round? No, I did leave you out, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I think my point's probably fairly obvious. Just go get procedure flow. Just kidding. Kill two birds with one stone. Somebody mentioned on the call here that, mock calls, and we're seeing this in our questionnaires and surveys, is like people are trying to figure out how to do a better job with them. So if that was one bird, and then the other one being that supporting people in the group chat, and we're hearing that 15-minute delay, or like if there's more backlog there, then there is people to help with that. Being able to help those people in those channels. Procedure flow is really about helping people stand up on their own and do it on their own. And you design your scenarios and exceptions in the procedure flow as runs. So instead of searching, you just figure out what scenario you're in, go through it, what exception you have, go through it, and then you're done. And so you can use that for the training and ongoing support. So two birds, one stone. And if you wanted to chat with us, feel free to reach out, procedureflow.com, and one of our folks will connect.
Yeah. And I really want to thank all of our participants. So Micah, thank you for sponsoring this event. Jessica, Catherine.
Sangeeta, Amanda is telling me, to remind me that everybody who commented, we put that up there, that there's a gift card, $100 for Amazon, and the winner was April Laframboise. So we'll connect with April to get her $100 gift card.
Wonderful. Congratulations, April. And thank you, Micah, for Procedure Flow sponsoring, but thank you always. You're always full of fantastic insights. And thank you, Jessica, Catherine, Shaniela, Nicole, not just for sharing with the community today, but when they were asked to participate, they came with just a desire to serve the greater community and not really anything for themselves. So I really appreciate that intention of service. So thank you so much. And then thank you for all the other team members who came in to support, like Daniel and Eric and Keisha and Veronica. Thank you for chiming in as well. Really appreciate all the insights. So this has been a wonderful collaborative, quick 1 hour, getting some ideas and valuable takeaways. And I hope to do more of these. It doesn't cut into your day too much, but just to learn from each other, and just informal, nothing so structured. But thank you so much. We respect your time. And I know there's a hard stop at 2. So I want to give an applause to all of our participants and our attendees, and then April for getting the gift card.
And thank you, Sangeeta and Micah, for hosting. It was really, really nice to hear all these ideas from other companies too.
Yeah, we shared. I learned a lot as well. So thank you, everyone.
Wonderful.
I got a few follow-ups to do. So thanks. Great stuff.
Yeah, same.
Wonderful. Okay, Daljeet enjoyed the session. Deb Morden, great idea. So you guys made an impact on our attendees. So that's the purpose. And I actually learned so much too, just hearing some of your answers. So I was busy taking notes while you guys were talking. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jane. Thank you for your kind words. All righty. Oh, Catherine, you want to say something? Oh, okay. So yeah. Okay, everyone. Take care. And we'll see.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.